Weightlifting World Championships.
Hello, a very good evening to you from the Dilek Sabanci Sports Centre in Antalya. I'm David Goldstrom, together with David Morgan for the highlights, really, of today's programme, arguably the whole week, the men's 56 kilo category, which features double Olympic, triple world, 7 times European champion Halil Mutlu of Turkey. Well, this is the lineup, those taking him on. As you can see, Halil weighing in at 59.96, so just inside the limit there of 56 kilos, almost the heaviest, not quite. Vargas of Cuba, just a fraction than Mutlu. And a packed auditorium here, a good 3,500 packed in to see this man. The man who's given them so much success in the years, the man who never fails to turn up, never fails to lift, and seemingly never fails to set new world records. And here he is in the snatch part of the competition, which finished just a few minutes ago, coming out having lifted 132 kilos to secure the snatch gold medal, and now trying 138.5 kilos, the half kilo, to set a new mark. So just getting the crowd silenced. And Mutlu, 28 years of age, really at the height of his powers. He's in a different league to everybody else in this body weight class. But nonetheless, a real test. Pulls that bar up, and that is terrific. Really gets it above his head. That's a fantastic lift there by Halil Mutlu. And David, you've got to hand it to him. He's done it again.
Well, that's right. If you'd seen him 2 hours ago at the weigh-in, he looked as if he'd been driving a lorry across country for about the last 4 days with no sleep or food or water. But looking at him up there, incredible.
Well, that was then, and very shortly we'll be joining the action live. He just took that second attempt, didn't go on, got a huge domination at the halfway stage in the snatch competition. But looking to me, David, as if there's more to come. Maybe 40 at the next championships, which will be the Europeans in the spring.
Well, that's right. He never really seems to extend himself. He takes a lift to win, and then he takes a world record for his second attempt, and he doesn't really need to bother with his third, so he doesn't. He just leaves it until next time.
So Mutlu well on his way. Technically, he's so good, David, isn't he?
He never seems to make a mistake. Everything's right.
So this is the situation at the halfway stage. Halil Mutlu 138.5, but only 137.5 counts for the actual competition, the overall total, ahead of Vargas of Cuba, who lifted 127.5. Very good lifting by the Cuban. And then a young Chinaman, Wang Xingwan, 22 years age, actually from Taipei, as you can see there, 120. By virtue of the light body weight, he's the lightest man in the field, getting the bronze, denying the local man Artuk of the bronze. So action now live here in the hall. And we pick the action up here in the clean and jerk, the second phase, and it's in its early stages. At the moment, Castellano of Venezuela on 55.82 kilos has lifted 142.5 kilos and leads the competition. In fact, he's in second place just now because, in fact, Yingtong Wang, or Wang Yingtong as we should call him more correctly, has lifted 142 at his first attempt. The disappointment for that Chinaman, when we'll talk about him a little bit when we see him, is the fact that he out in the snatch and failed all 3 attempts. But now here we are live in the Dilek Sabanchi Sports Centre, just a couple of kilometres from the centre of Antalya, a place where the sun usually shines, and today it has poured and poured and poured with rain. Laszlo Tancic of Hungary, second attempt at 1:45.
Well, that's a confident lift. 145 kilos, that's 320 pounds. And when you consider that these athletes are weighing in at 56 kilos, that's just 8 stone, 11 pounds. You begin to realise just how heavy that is.
There's Tancic, still with plenty of years ahead. He's just 23. Sixth in the Europeans this year in fencing, but now a huge roar for the man who just missed the bronze medal by virtue of being too heavy in the first half of the competition, but not without a chance of getting a medal here in the clean and jerk, possibly the total. But he's got to get, I think, David, to get those medals, he's going to have to put in 3 good lifts, no mistakes.
Yes, I think I agree with you. It's very, very strong in the first phase of the clean and jerk, but there's always been some doubt with the jerk with this man.
Mediterranean Games champion this year. Artuk hails from Ankara, the capital of the country.
Of course, just to put this into perspective, we're now on 147.5. World record stands at 168 kilos, held by Halil. Well, as I said, David, very, very strong in the first phase, but often struggles with the jerk.
And that's a disappointment, because it now sets back his plan. It's a question of how well he can recover from this. I mean, in the Mediterraneans, he only had to go to 140 kilos, so this is now the real thing for him. Got to really pull himself together. He's got time to do that, because onto the stage comes the man from Belarus. This is Vitaly Jabanu, who was in 6th place, 115 kilos, then 120, couldn't make 125 in the snatch. At the halfway stage, 6th, and 16.5 kilos behind Mutlu. No problems there. Now, can he chuck it above his head? Feet have got to be still. Oh, he can't.
Well, chased it, but ran out of platform.
Quite interesting, actually. Sam Copper, the president of the technical committee, was on the stage yesterday, and he was actually measuring the platform, and the rule says it's got to be exactly 4 meters square, and it wasn't. It was a few centimeters over, and they've been shaving off to get it to the legal size. Maybe
well, it looks as if this guy could have done with the extra 4 centimeters.
Yes. Now, this is Wang Yingtong for China. Now,
yes, disappointingly failed all 3 snatches earlier on, but of course in weightlifting, medals for snatch, clean and jerk and total, so it's worth him carrying on just for a medal in the clean and jerk.
Yeah, the Chinese have come here with a pretty young squad. This man comes from Guangdong province. Capital is Guangzhou, where back in 1995 they hosted the World Weightlifting Championships. 4th recently in the national games, but this is his first international venture. Has got a total of 272.5 to his credit. That would be his best so far, but this is education. It's a very young Chinese team, both in the men's and the women's division. But they've already had success today. We'll tell you about that a little later.
Well, dizzy, looked as if he cleaned the weight. It was quite a difficult clean, and the bar was very close to the windpipe, and when that happens, lifters can often black out because of a lack of oxygen to the brain, and I think very wisely putting the weight down before passing out.
So now this is very much a mental test as much as the physical one, David, for him. He's got all the support he could dream of here.
Bags of strength, but his technique is lacking in the second phase of the lift. Of course, weightlifting requires great strength, but it also requires perfect technique. And when you bring the two together, you end up with a world champion.
He was a long way away from getting that.
Yeah, and of course he's really under pressure now because he's failed the jerk on the first attempt, failed the clean on the second attempt. He's got one lift remaining. If he fails on this third attempt, he'll go out of the competition without a total.
That would be very sad, particularly on home soil. These championships, of course, hastily organised here by the Turkish Weightlifting Federation. They took over responsibility. As you see this failure here by Artuk Serhat, he's got one more attempt. They took over the responsibility in July. They've had barely 12, 14 weeks in which to put together a whole World Championships. They've done a really outstanding job, and all credit to them and all credit to the people here, who I must say have been extremely friendly and very helpful.
Well, I have to agree with you. I've only arrived yesterday, but got a taxi to the venue earlier on, and the taxi driver didn't even want to take any money.
So now, this is the Hungarian, Laszlo Tancic.
Well, perhaps one of the factors I missed out. I mentioned technique, I mentioned strength, but I forgot to mention that also that you need the psychological strength as well.
And that's his third clean and jerk attempt, which means that he's totaled out at 265 kilos, which in terms of his recent performances, he is just 23. That's pretty good. He's got a personal best listed at 250, David, so that's a considerable improvement, although he's going to be well out of the overall medals here today. Now,
well, this was the man who ran out the platform.
Yes, this is Vitaly Gerbenev, or Gerbianu. Seems to have two versions of spelling, which is not unusual in this sport. That looks better. Now,
this is where he had the problem before.
Deep split, but he hasn't been as extravagant with the feet this time, and they're nicely in line, nicely still, and that's much better, and he's really boosted himself. And that 147.5 means that he goes straight to the top. 267.5 kilos, 120 for the snatch, 147 here, 147.5 to give him 267.5. Just to put that into context, he was bronze medalist in the European Championships in Trenčín, Gerbenev, and total 262.5. So he's found an extra 5 kilos since April.
So the young Chinaman trying for a medal on the clean and jerk.
A lot of pressure. This is
Ying Tong on 147.5.
Very deep split, David. Very deep.
Yes, deep split and head right down.
Yeah.
And when you take your head down and forward, your balance goes forward. Positioning the head, very important. And but I think he was perhaps trying to get rid of the bar off the shoulders very, very quickly because of the bar across the windpipe on the previous attempt. So, bar remains on 147.5 for Artuk of Turkey, the Turkey's second stringer, and he's now having to make this lift to make a total. But of course, it will put him into first place. But of course, we've still got athletes to come.
Yeah, Sinar Yazici and Kafa Topovu, his coaches in the wings there. So, 25 years of age, important moment. He's been near to major medals, but he's never actually captured at this level in honour. Better, much better. Now they've really put him together there. Just a pity that he couldn't have pulled it off the first time, at least the second time. And 270 the total, goes into first place. So something of a recovery, but there are still, of course, 4 lifters who have not even started the clean and jerk phase of the competition. To the stage comes the South American champion. This is Sergio Alvarez. Actually, the man who also won the Pan Ams, Sergio Alvarez Boulay. And this was the man who was, if I remember, was he not rather lopsided?
Lopsided on the snatches, that's right. Let's see if it transfers over into the clean and jerk.
117.5 kilos in the snatch. Now this is where we'll see yes or no. That was straight up and that was good.
Yes, much more confident. 150 kilos, absolutely no problem at all.
Cuban, and just 22. Again, new generation of lifters coming into the championships, and although these championships have been organised here in something of a hurry after the abortion of in the original candidate for holding these championships, and then Guam had it transferred to them and they couldn't do it either, so Turkey picked up the baton and have done pretty well so far. There are a total of 55 countries here and a total of 285 athletes. That's well down on the World Championships of 1999 in Athens, but that was an Olympic qualifying tournament.
Yes, you always expect post-Olympic World Championships to be like this.
Now, Vargas of Cuba, already with a silver medal awaiting him, having finished second to Mutlu in the snatch. Well, how about that, David? I sense a bit of fragility there.
It wasn't easy, it wasn't a solid lift, but nevertheless, it was a lift that's put him into the lead for now. That now puts him on 277.5. Yes, looks a bit weak on that right side.
Vargas, who's back in action after a 2-year disqualification. I'm sure you can all imagine at home why. That happened in the Pan American Games, so he missed out on the Olympics. So Wang Xinyan of Taipei.
Yes, this man snatched 122 earlier on in the competition, but it took 3 lifts to make good.
Yes, he got that bronze medal by being just 5 kilos behind Vargas, but this was the man who denied Sedat Artuk the bronze medal in the snatch division. So I wonder whether he's going to be the spoiler again here. was about to say when it went on the shoulders it looked heavy. He's got there, but I wonder how much more. You sense that the next move ought to be 155 and nothing more extravagant.
Yes. Yes, a tough lift, but at least he managed to get it in first time, so his coach can relax in the knowledge that at least he's got a total.
Yes, we've got Wang on 275, Vargas on 277.5. Leading, of course, at the moment, Mutlu in the wings, waiting his turn.
Yes, and of course, this is something that's certainly going to come up. 168 kilos is, of course, 3 times 56, and Mutlu has done it twice before. And I don't think that anybody's done it 3 times, so if he manages a world record today on the clean and jerk, he'll be the only man in history to have clean and jerked triple body weight 3 times.
Now, if you agree with what you've just been told by David Morgan, or even if you disagree, we've got the weightlifting website up and running, www.weightlifting.de. That's www.weightlifting.de. If you would like to send us a message, you'll find both David Morgan's and my email address there, and we'd be more than happy to hear from you, not only today, but throughout the week, and if we can, we'll answer you live during the transmission and try and answer any of your questions. We're here all the way through to next Sunday, and although we've had to come to this competition a little late, we're going to be here for the finale of Mutlu, surely, David, going for another record. Meanwhile, this is Alvara's second attempt, 155. So 5 kilo increase, and clock has run out. Has he run out of time or not?
Well, it's very strange because they didn't even put the time up, which is must be having some technical problems.
Yes, there's 3 red lights showing on the scoreboard, so he's lifting and holding it on his shoulders, and the central referee is actually telling him to far down, but he's lifted it and he's gone for it.
And he's had a bit of a walk with it. Come on, needs to stand still.
But I have a feeling it's going to be for nothing, because I think he's going to be ruled, well,
no lift.
No lift.
Why?
Because he did run out of time.
Yeah, but they loaded the wrong weight. They loaded 152.5. He changed it and asked for 155. He didn't actually run out of time. There was no way that a minute passed there.
Well, the jury are now off the desk. Now, this is all happening. We can see it. They're off the desk there. Central referee is being called.
This is a technical problem. The lifter shouldn't pay for a technical problem.
And the problem about it is that he tried. The central referee tried in vain to catch his eye to stop him before he actually lifted up the bar. And now what's happened is that he'll probably be given a relift, but he'll have used that energy.
Well, it's not a relift. He wants the attempt, doesn't he?
Well, he'll be given another attempt, but if the central referee had been more positive, more clear, then he could have saved him that energy and that effort. This is all supposition, because we haven't actually seen what the jury have decided, but so here comes Vargas. Now Vargas has a minute on the clock for him.
Well, I can see the clock from where I'm sitting, and they never started the clock.
From Havana, although these days lives in Vareda Nuera. I can tell you it's absolutely pouring. Out in Cuba, they were under threat of Hurricane Michelle coming to destroy part of the island there. Hopefully it hasn't. I have to say, outside, it's absolutely belting down on the roof of this hall.
Well, you said it looked heavy on 150. It looked very heavy on 155.
An interesting thing here is that it is so nip and tuck for the silver and bronze medals. A little conservatism here might pay dividends.
Well, it also shows the significance of that last lift that was failed by this young man, because this could possibly have been a silver medal. So if he fails with it now, it means that that second attempt that they disallowed was a silver medal. So let's see how he responds to this. It's 30 seconds on the clock.
This is Alvarez of Cuba.
Now needs to stand from that dead position. No,
he got very low.
Well, that's a shame, because as you said, the previous lift, I reckon that previous lift would have been a silver medal. Put all his effort into it.
So 2 competitors for Turkey in this men's 56-kilo final, 2 for Cuba, Taipei, Belarus, Colombia, and Hungary, all represented, as well as Belarus. And now Vargas, the other Cuban, this is his 3rd attempt at 155. At the moment, he's top of the pile, having lifted 150. So this would take him to 282.5 for a total. Still, of course, Mutlu to begin. 15 seconds for Vargas.
That's better. Just too much.
Just to me, the way he attacked that, you could almost see it on his face that he didn't sort of believe that he could do this.
Well, it looks heavy. He's really struggling. That clean took a lot of effort, and then just didn't have the energy and the strength left to get the weight to arm's length.
I mean, 155 is his personal best at the clean and jerk, so he was right up there on his limit. But again, you've got to wonder whether the coaches have played it quite right, whether 152.5 wouldn't have been a more intelligent weight to have gone for.
Well, we're going to be answered now.
Well, I thought that this young man's previous weight of 152.5 looked pretty close to his limit. Now, this is a 5-kilo increase as opposed to the 2.5 kilos I was imagining that he'd have gone for.
Yeah, and of course the 2.5 would have, looking at what Vargas has just done, would have actually put him into second place.
And he's light, 55.38, so he's got all the things going for him. But now,
in fact, now having said that, he is in second place because he jerked 50. No, he isn't, because Eddie snatched. So 55 would have done it. So taking more than he needs. Well, that's good.
Better than the first one. Now, has he got the strength overhead?
Yes, that's much better.
So, seeing is not believing every time, because that is an improvement. They've obviously
that's a silver medal on the jerk and a silver overall, I would say.
And raw talent, really, David. Not that much experience internationally, but nonetheless, this is the young man that won the Asian title this year, second in the East Asian Games. And he's got one more attempt, of course.
So the bar going to 160.5.
Well, it's not really necessary to announce who it is, but I will, because it's such a joy. And this is the man, or he will be in a moment when he emerges from the tunnel, that they paid their money, Halil Mutlu. originally from Bulgaria, but like Naim Suleimanoglu, another great former Bulgarian, very much a Turk at heart and taken to the hearts of the Turkish population. 28 years of age, 2 Olympic gold medals, Atlanta and Sydney, 3 World Championship titles, 7 times European champion. And this is a man you can put your money on. Well, that'll be enough to take the title. 300 kilos exactly, 162.5, but it is.
Yeah, questionable whether he'll take another lift, though.
Well, 168 kilos is his own world record.
Yeah, he looks as if he had a bit of a pain in the shoulder, so he'll be torn between, you know, shall I leave it for another day and, you know, let the shoulder recover, or do I go for a world record and not disappoint the home crowd?
It's an interesting question, because he's going to have to go for something like 6 kilos more, and is that a prudent decision? Well, he's got a bit of time.
Well, this puts a bit of a new perspective on it, because if this young man from Taipei succeeds with 162.5, although he can't win the overall, he could actually win the clean and jerk by virtue of lighter body weight. So if he gets this, he will have to take another lift of at least 165 to take all the golds. Well, it was just too much, but you can't blame him for trying. He'd already won the silver on the overall.
Yes, I mean, that was just a lift too far, but on this occasion, but there's more to come. So Mutlu, they put 165 on the bar, but I'm sure that's not going to be, if he's going to take one more attempt, he's probably
got to be a world record.
Yeah.
Otherwise, again, I think he's just buying some extra time.
Who would blame him? The one thing about Mutlu is, if he's fit, if he's well, if he's feeling good, he does not shirk the challenge. And he is pumping himself up.
But of course, the only challenge that Mutlu has at the moment, or the only real challenge, is his own world records.
305 kilos.
Well, this will be 302.5. The world record is 305, is it not?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 167.5 doesn't really give him anything, does it? 168.5, surely.
It's just...
well, that's what the crowd wanted.
Yeah. But he's doing exactly what David. He's making sure he's got enough time. He can prepare physically, psychologically. He can go through all of this.
Well, you're allowed 2 changes in the warm-up, so he's used his 2 changes to buy himself some time.
Incidentally, I was saying, David, that they rushed to put this World Championship together. That warm-up room in which Halil is preparing at the moment, I can tell you that when I was here 4 weeks ago, the walls were not there, the ceiling was not there, it was open to the sky. The only thing there was a concrete platform, and that was it. So they've not only put on the championship, they've been making the building as well.
Oh, they've done a superb job.
So here we go, he's got over 45 seconds as he comes onto the stage to go for 168.5 kilos.
Yep, and of course the triple body weight.
Triple body weight, overall total, new clean and jerk. Another entry in the personal Mutlu Hall of Fame. Oh, no. Well, you thought that it might be just beyond it.
Well, that's the first time I've seen him struggle up out of a clean. But, of course, he's got another attempt left.
Not sure about that.
Well, he's got 3 minutes. 3 minutes to decide.
Well, if he does it, I have a feeling he'll do it for the crowd.
Just watch this clean. See, struggling to get up out of the clean. And then obviously quite tired after that. A really low split and just not quite being in the right position under the bar. I think he could do it. He's going to need all of his 3 minutes, though.
So just to correct a bit of my own mathematics, were he to do it, it would count for 3:05 as a total.
Which I believe equals his own world record.
Yeah.
So although he would have broken the world record in the snatch and the clean and jerk by half a kilo, we know that those half kilos don't go towards the total.
I think we've been down this road many a time, David, haven't we? If you lift the weight, why on earth doesn't it count?
Yeah, exactly. But here we go.
Well, it looks as if he is going to give the crowd their money's worth. It is definitely that shoulder.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the clock's ticking away. He's got 1 minute 20. I'd say this is probably one of the few times I've actually seen him under real pressure with a lift. I mean, every time he's broke the world record before, he's always looked as if he's been capable of more. This is the first time I've really seen him sort of pushed to the limit, as it were. Well, to do this after that last effort with only a couple of minutes rest is asking a lot, but nothing this man does ever surprises me.
3 times his own body weight.
Come on, Halil.
They will go cracker if he does this, and deservedly so. But it's a big, big call.
That's better. Well, the clean was better. The great thing about Halil is that, I mean, you could see that he really wanted that. I mean, he put 100% in there, and he really believed that he was going to do it. He's very, very disappointed. I don't think the crowd care, though. He still broke the world snatch record. He's still world champion again.
Yeah, he never lets us down. Remember, it was the clean and jerk record in Trenčín a little earlier this year in the European Championships. Turned up, never misses a major championship if he's fit, and he's come here. This time, it's the snatch that's received blue treatment of improvement. Well, I hope they're not too disappointed. The good thing is that the European Championships are back here in Turkey next year, so they can come again, and hopefully you'll be with us here on Eurosport when we return. But we've got a lot more to come before these championships are over, all the way live until the weekend, and the super heavyweights, and some really good competitions to look forward to. One I'd like to highlight is the men's 85 kilo competition with Mark Huster of Germany, who apparently is in great condition. Just to wrap up the results, I'll break off. Halil Mutlu there, 162.5, giving him a total of 300, so he wins the class by 20 kilos. And then Wang Xin Huan of Taipei, 280. The youngster doing the work in the clean and jerk to haul himself up into overall silver position to go with that clean and jerk silver. And Alvarez of Cuba, the man who arguably was a bit unlucky on his second clean and jerk, getting away with a bronze medal. So good effort by him.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because in reality the 55 wouldn't have made a difference, but
you don't know that at the time.
At the time, we never knew. So it's quite nice that he ended up with a bronze on the clean and jerk. It's sort of...
That's the mascot, the dolphin, that you'll see around here. Sunny Antalya. Well, it was sunny when I arrived. Very nice indeed. Still around 25 degrees Celsius. Hasn't been like that for a couple of days. But there is the championship overall board. Halil Mutlu, 300 kilos, 20 ahead of the rest. You can see there Wang of Taipei taking overall silver, and Vargas of Cuba, the overall bronze medal, ahead of Artuk of Turkey. In the clean and jerk, very expensive. They limited his ambition. Not saying he would have got the extra 7.5 kilos, but that's the way it's ended, with Alvarez of Cuba in 5th place. So I hope you've enjoyed our first visit, our first flavour to this year's World Championships. Much more to come, and we'll give you the details in a moment. Well, we're going to take a little break. We're not running away by any means. We're going to be back for the medal ceremonies, and we'll look ahead to the competitions upcoming here in Turkey. So stay with us for a few moments more here. The medal ceremony should be memorable. Welcome to the Dilek Sabanci Hall here. And just to look ahead, tomorrow night we've got the men's 62 kilo category, and that's Nikolai Pashalov, the Olympic and European champion. Needs the world title to complete the set, and be interesting to see what sort of shape he's in tomorrow, whether he can actually go for that. We've had 2 competitions today. You've just seen Mutlu wrap up all the gold medals. In the women's 48 kilos, it was Wei Zhao who was triumphant for China, taking the overall title with 190 kilos. No records there, ahead of the very lovely named Blessed Udo of Nigeria, who took overall silver, totaled out at 175, and the overall bronze went to Chen of Taipei with 170 kilos. I thought we were going to bring you the overall medal table. I'd like to do that for you in a moment. I can tell you that China head the list. They've got 3 gold medals. Turkey, well, of course, thanks to Mutlu, they share top place also with 3 gold. So 7 countries in the first day have won medals here in Antalya. So 2 live visits tomorrow to the competition, and the first one of those will be at 1600 CET, and then the men's competition at 1900 CET, and that's when Pashalov of Croatia will be in action. The women's competition, well, Dagmar Danikova of Slovakia and Maurice Turcotte of Canada to look out for. Well, that's all we've got for you for the moment. Hope you enjoyed the first visit. Join us if you can. From now, from David Morgan and myself, David Goldstrom, from Turkey.